Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Blessed by Angels podcast. In this episode, I am going to be sharing a message about the fire of remembrance. Welcome to the Blessed by Angels podcast. My name is Jenn Gilbreth. Ever since I was a little girl, I have felt deeply connected to the angelic realm. Over the years, I have dedicated my time and energy towards delivering messages from beyond. Yes, that's right. I talk to dead people, although I don't necessarily consider them dead. In many ways, they are much more alive than us in this physical realm. On this podcast, I will be channeling messages from spirit. Whether you tune in each week for the new messages, or feel like picking a message at random, this podcast is designed for Spirit to lead you to the messages for you here and now. These messages have changed the way I view and play in life. I hope that these messages can do the same for you. One of my favorite ways to connect to our ancestors and to honor those who came before is by lighting a candle. I recently also had a very beautiful gathering where we went around and we talked about someone that we wanted to remember. And in doing so, we all felt those people that we wanted to remember in our space. And it was such a beautiful reminder that we have the power to call upon our ancestors and our loved ones, as well as like opening our heart for more or other guides, other ancestors to come forward to make themselves known and to share with us what they might really want to help us with or what we can help them with, and have this beautiful co-creative experience. And we each lit a candle after we talked about them and said a message to them of what we wanted to create the space with them to be, and honoring who they were and where they came from and their journey. It was such a powerful experience of allowing them to light the path our way, because honestly, if we're thinking about ancestral or those who have passed, and in some way or another, they have lit the way for us. They have lit the path for us to continue to walk on. And so having that acknowledgement is that they lit the path before, and they will continuously light the path for us. And I'm looking up right now the quote that I had with it, that I shared with it, because it was such a profound lighting the candle experience. And as we are coming into the fall season on top of the holidays, lighting a candle is such a great way to bring someone back. Whether or not you're having Thanksgiving dinner and you want to have candles lit for those who couldn't make it, whether in spirit or alive, that's a great way to keep their honor and their memory going. And it's like, as you light that candle, it's like setting the intention. Grandma, I would love for you to be here today. I'm so grateful for you, like all that you accomplished. We're all here because of you. I light this candle in remembrance of you. And maybe you want to have 4 or 5 candles. Not only does it create a beautiful ambiance, but it literally is lighting our souls, like lighting those souls to our space as well. So this poem I wanted to read is called This Candle. I could stare at this candle forever, watching the flame flicker orange and gold. I think about candles in small glowing windows, candles and stories my grandfather told. Warming my hands on a dark, stormy night, this candle fills me with peace and light. That was Amy Van Der Water. And that's just it. It's remembering those who came before us and honoring their journey, honoring who they were and why they were here. The other thing that is really sparking interest to me right now, this is a little bit different of a podcast, but I still feel like it's really profound as a way to magnify our conversations and our connection. You know, we have during this Halloween season, I don't think that we all realize where Halloween came from. um, Halloween came from the roots of it all came from the ancient Celtic festival called Samhain. And it was a pagan tradition to celebrate and welcome the harvest. It was like the end of the summer. This is when they would light bonfires and they would wear costumes to ward off darkness and ghosts as they stepped into the winter. And it was a way of celebration. And during that time, really, it's like one of the times where we're closest to the spirit realm, where we can have more of a conversation. And I think it's also because the intention is there, where it's like, hey, this is a time where we're going into the winter, we're going into this dark season, and darkness can overcome us in those dark times when we're in hibernation if we don't put intention aside from that. And so in those times, they would light fires and they would dress up to warn off darkness. We think about pumpkins and how people light pumpkins, and how we have the jack-o'-lantern, right? Where it can be a happy face or a grim face. And it's kind of, in the past, it was known that warding off the darkness was making grim faces. And then also having a pumpkin that was smiling and lighting a candle in that was helping those lost souls find their way, whether it be a positive thing or a negative thing, so that you could protect yourself, but also encourage those souls to find their way. And so even lighting a candle in that aspect, lighting a candle, you see how people in the winter time sometimes will light their candles in the windows. And it's also a way of helping those dark souls who are lost or stuck to find their way home, find their way back to themselves, to their soul's creative space, to that oneness with God. And that can be a beautiful sign of lighting a candle or placing a candle in the jack-o'-lantern, is a way of remembrance and a way of encouragement for our souls and our spirits on the graves. Sometimes we think about having connection with the spirit realm and it's like, well, what can they do for me? Well, I encourage you to ask yourself, what can I do for them? Not all of our ancestors have crossed over into a bright, beautiful space. Sometimes part of their soul is still here, and maybe we're reliving the patterns that they experienced, and maybe they want to help us remove that so that we can live our own life powerfully. But the more that we can honor and love those who came before us, the deeper rooted we can become. I strongly believe that, and I strongly feel that. And when we can incorporate things such as honoring them, lighting a candle and saying, I want to honor you, I want to thank you, I want you to be here with us, I bless your path, and even having that candle burning the whole time we have a dinner, or the whole time there's a party going, and then it's at the end blowing it out and saying, I hope you enjoyed your time, I'm so grateful that you could be here with us, I love you, I honor you, I honor what you've left behind for us, and then blowing it out. It's having the intention of lighting the fire of memory. One of my other favorite things to do is lighting a candle, setting intention, saying a prayer, and maybe even writing a letter to a loved one that I want to connect with, or even just talking to them as I stare into the flame, as a meditative space for me to connect in deeper. So there are many different ways that we can honor and light the path and acknowledge the path that's already being lit before us. We are not alone. We don't have to navigate this human journey by ourselves. Hey there, I wanted to take a brief moment to thank you so much for listening and being a part of Blessed by Angels podcast. I have found that our angelic team wants to help remind us who and why we are earthside at this present moment. The more that we remember the angelic support that we are given, the easier it is for us to live life to the fullest. So, if this message or any of the previous messages from the podcast have really stuck out to you, I would encourage you to send them to anyone who you feel could benefit from the messages. Or if you feel prompted, I would love for you to leave a review on any of the platforms that you are listening on. I would love to hear your feedback. Blessings. Who can we invite into our life that can help us feel uplifted and fulfilled? Along with that, are we lifting and fulfilling others? And how can we honor those who came before us during this season? How can we allow them to know how grateful we are for them? And the more that we can do that, the stronger of a connection we are going to feel, and they will feel with us. Isn't that a beautiful remembrance? I feel like that is such a beautiful reminder that we don't have to be alone, nor are we encouraged to do so. We may have been taught or have had wounds or have had dark experiences that have caused us to feel that way. But are we willing to let that go so that we can have a greater sense of connection? How can you set time intentionally aside to connect during these holiday seasons? Because they want to be here with us. They want us to acknowledge them and to have them a part of our journey. And not only that, when we open up that space, we allow the magic of feeling them around us or seeing them or experiencing them or having smell or sight or whatever that is, that we can feel that within ourselves. That's such a beautiful reminder that as we honor those who came before, we honor the path that was lit before us. And not only that, we can strengthen the light as we walk the path as well. I love that. Such a beautiful reminder. We are not alone, nor are we expected to be alone. It's just setting up the intention and creating the space and welcoming in divine connection for ourselves and for our loved ones. Maybe you want to go around and share a memory of somebody that you miss during this time. Maybe you have a grandmother or a mother who you want to connect with. And maybe instead of everybody going on their phones after dinner, you have that candle lit and then you say, hey, what do you remember about grandma? And everyone go around and share a memory. Because you wouldn't want to pass and not be remembered, would you? How can we keep the memory of those alive? Sometimes people will write a memory journal, or a memory treasure box where they take time to write different memories when they're feeling in a good space. And then maybe in those times of darkness, when grief hits really hard, that can be a tool where you can pull out a memory and read that to help satisfy or to help you remember who that person is. We get so afraid we're going to forget about somebody. But what if we could write that down or have that in a space that we can always remember? And those who are come after us can remember as well, or they can learn. We truly are here for a short time. And a few generations down the road will be a name. How can we honor those who came before us so that they are not just a name, but they are an embodied angelic guide to be here with us? And how can we teach the next generation to have those guides, to have that connection to more than just a name? How can we remember our soul's expression in this physical world? Because those souls are not gone. They're not gone with the wind, right? But in this physical world, besides their name, there might not be much left of their existence here. That can be kind of an eerie, weird thought. But at the same time, such a magical way of remembering somebody. The more that we have those connections with people that help us feel alive and soul fulfilled, we're going to want to spend more time with them. That's no different from the spirit realm. Even just sharing a memory. I want to read this candle poem one more time to close up this unique, different kind of message on the podcast today. I'm just going with whatever's coming in and honoring and loving what spirit has to share. So once again, I could stare at this candle forever, watching the flame flicker orange and gold. I think about candles in small glowing windows, candles and stories my grandfather told. Warming my hands on a dark snowy night, this candle fills me with peace and it fills me with light. I hope that this holiday season you can do something to remember and honor those who came before you. Maybe by lighting a candle and acknowledging the path that has been lit before you so that you don't have to walk in darkness. I hope you have a great day. Blessings. Thank you for tuning in to the Blessed by Angels podcast. It is such an honor to deliver these messages from beyond. If you want to connect deeper to your angelic realm and the support team that you have, I have a plethora of resources on my website at blessedbyangels.org. And of course, I'll leave the link in the show notes. You are connected to the divine. Having divine connection is an innate ability that each and every one of us have. Before we came here, we were spirit. And after we leave this realm, we are introduced back into the spirit world. So having spirit-to-spirit conversations and knowings and understandings are innately and infinitely who you truly are. When we step into this body, we tend to forget. We are not separated from the divine. There is just a lack of remembrance. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast, and I look forward to delivering more messages from beyond.